Hi guys, welcome back to season 2 of the Fur Coat No Knickers podcast. I just want to first of all say thank you for all of the support for season 1. It was just a whirlwind. I couldn't have expected it. Season 2, we're kicking off with the episode 1 of me and Mc Carthy, similar to the season 1, but it's a little bit of a longer episode. It's probably the longest. You're going to want to hear it, okay? It's very personal, but I think people need to hear this so that they can protect themselves. Apart from that, just listen to the podcast and enjoy. Thank you. Is that okay? Yeah? Better?
It's a lot more energetic.
Yeah?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
No, but we brought up vegan menus, like vegan magazines, all this other stuff. Fucking, yeah.
Okay. Are we good to go?
I just need a clap. Phones on silent.
Yeah.
Phones on silent. And you said I can't use my phone, but I want
Well, you can keep it, but don't make it very obvious.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you want to start the podcast.
Oh, no, you start. Do I start?
Yeah.
Okay.
The last time you said,
Yeah,
Sophie,
well,
you're here. Today we're doing it a bit
The
different.
intro will be,
It's always
Oh, yeah.
the intro, it's always you.
Okay.
I just sit here.
Okay, will I clap again?
where are you going to do the intro of just you?
Yeah.
No, as in the intro after where the camera's just on
Yeah.
you. So there's no intro now.
Oh, yes, there's no intro now. Okay.
Or do you want to do it while Shane is in front?
No. No.
Absolutely not.
No.
So
So
it's
this is just
jumping
the
into-
conversation, yeah.
Just jumping into me asking
So would
you
I
questions.
clap again?
No, you're fine.
Okay.
So, it's the beginning of season 2.
Yeah.
How was season 1?
Fur Coat No Knickers, season 1 went so much better than I would have ever expected. I'm not even going to say better because there was nothing to quantify it off. It didn't even went anywhere. I don't know how to describe it.
I'm going to go back a different way.
Okay.
What were your expectations coming into Fur Coat No Knickers season 1? And then we'll sort of get in, as this
Yeah.
goes on, we're going to get into how this actually manifested, what came of it, how the growth is, etc. But what were your expectations at the start? What were you trying to achieve, and then what did you end up achieving?
So for season 1 for Fur Coat No Knickers, I didn't have any expectations.
Okay.
And the way I saw it was, I'm going to do this.
Yeah.
And whatever happens, happens. I can't lose. It's a project to keep me occupied.
Yeah.
So I had no expectations. So therefore, I had no disappointments. And it wasn't something that I made a conscious decision to have no expectations of.
Okay.
But I had nothing to quantify it off. So
That probably helped you out a lot. And then stopping putting loads of pressure on
Yeah.
yourself. You're like, well, I thought I'd get 25,000 views
Yeah.
in every video, and then you're watching every minute just to. Yeah.
But you know, it's like what Adam said. Sorry, Adam's behind the camera. I always do this. I just involve him in the conversation.
Just for new people coming in, who's Adam?
Adam is this boy knows. He is the content creator. He's looking at me now.
The
so
owner
it's
of
really
We
weird.
Know Digital.
He's the owner of We Know Digital Agency.
Yeah,
Thanks.
absolutely.
You're
Yeah.
way better marketer than me. But
for
he
you, Adam.
does he does everything for me. So but when Adam and myself sat down and he said to me, I think it was the first day, he was like,
Yeah.
Sophie, listen now, don't have any expectations. I'm not saying it's not going to do well, but he was like, if you think about it this way, if there's 100 people that watch it, think of those 100 people in the room. And that was literally what was on my mind.
That's wonderful.
And
That is genuinely wonderful.
and it was the best advice you ever gave me, so thank you. Like, it really was, because if you can actually think of it like that you're sitting there and you're having that conversation, you're opening up, and 100 people are looking at you.
It's like being in a startup and focusing on the product as opposed to on customers.
Yeah.
If you build a good enough product and an authentic enough product, then people will appreciate it.
That's it, yeah. And it was as authentic as anything. And like,
Oh, absolutely.
everybody that watched the first one, everyone was like, Sophie, who's your man? Like you, like.
Yeah,
And it was
we've good
because
chemistry.
we've good chemistry, but it was because you really brought out the parts of me that I didn't think I was gonna cry. Like, do you know, you
I
really.
won't say I enjoyed it, but
No, but you did. You could see it in your face. You were like this, look.
well, what I
Fine.
enjoyed was that the Sophie I know and the
Yeah.
Sophie I get to see all the time.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it, playing some small minimal role
No, it was
and
huge.
showing that to the world, and
Yeah.
them getting to see there's a lot of power in what you do.
Yeah.
There's a lot of inspiration in what you do. And that has led to a lot of growth for you and to people around you as well, you know?
Yeah, I think when we talk about growth in the podcast, it grew legs.
Yeah.
It grew legs.
Yeah. Turned into giraffe.
It really did. But it wasn't for like, oh, look at her, she looks cool in that or whatever. It grew legs because of the people that I had on. It wasn't to do with me necessarily. Yeah, okay, we kicked it off and it was a great season, but I want to be very clear that it was about the people that I had on, and it was about the stories that those people shared with me. And like, I've got goosebumps talking about this, but if you have any idea, sitting in that chair and people opening up to me about stuff that they haven't spoken about for years, or stuff that they have buried, and then at the end of it they always turn around to me and they're like, I feel like I just had a therapy session. And I'm like, did I just counsel you? But it was just this amazing space for me to feel empowered by what that person was allowing themselves to say to me. But then when we are sitting in this room and we're doing this right now, you don't realize that there's people sitting at home and there might be someone thinking something in their head that they haven't let out. Even like the straight gays one, lads, oh my god, the amount of messages I got, and they were like, come here, I found a Grindr profile on my boyfriend's thing. I was like, delete, block, report, he's gay, like he's gay, you know? And like, sorry, but it's true. And
I found that thing with Keen was unbelievable. Yeah,
it was unbelievable because it was true. And lads,
I was showing it to my mates, and they were coming in going,
yeah,
I know some guys. You know, absolutely.
Yeah. But I met this guy that's of a different sexual orientation, which he's gay. And I met him about 2 weeks ago, and we were at a party. This just brings back to the straight gay, and to see how relevant it is. I'm not going to go on too much about it, but anyway, we were at a party back in August. Obviously the podcast didn't come out until October, and that night he said to me, see that fella over there, he's married but he's a bird. And I was like, stop. Do you know, this before I even did the podcast with Ian, right? And so then when the podcast came out, when I met him the other day, he was like, Sophie, I thought you were talking about me. And I was like, what do you mean? He was like, I was banging your man that night in the men's toilet while I know your face, right? And all of your faces. He was banging that guy in the men's toilet while they were out with the wife. 6 months later, the wife rings a mutual friend and says, did something happen between X and X? And it did. Yeah. Straight gays everywhere. So anyway, sorry.
No. Look, this is where we are. So we want to apologise for being the way we are.
Yeah, of course.
So what did you think? What were the key learnings you took from it? Because I mean, you'd never done a podcast before. You'd maybe known Adam, done some work with Adam. You'd never done it that consistently. Had to be that disciplined. The byproduct of all the media that came from it, the additional followers, all the messages, the pressure, and direct and indirect pressure you would never have thought may manifest, and then pressure that you didn't actually happen. Yeah. So what were the key learnings and takeaways that you took from season 1?
So I'm going to start with the positive. Yeah. And there is negative to it as well.
Of course.
So the positive was, I mean, people were messaging me and they were like, Clodagh's story helped me so much. Your story helped me so much. Melanie's story helped me so much. I'm a new mom, right? Yeah. So I'm getting goosebumps again. Like that feedback from people, like that made me feel so proud of myself, Adam, the person that did the podcast, and just the general message that we were giving out to people. Absolutely. That we're like, it's okay if you think like this, it's okay if you feel like this. Yeah. So I was very proud. I suppose I learned a lot about myself in the way I handle this whole organization of it. Like, because in my head I'm like Adam, what day are you free? And then I'll go back to the podcast interview or whatever, and I'll say, are you free this date? And they're like, yeah, that's fine. And then I have to sort the location, and then even like the questions and the pre-interviews and stuff like that, I was doing that naturally, so I didn't realize it was a whole process. And then I was like, Jesus, Sophie, you really did that, like. So that was fab.
Absolutely, you owned it.
It was fab. Yeah. But the negative, I felt like when I released the first podcast, Dropping My Knickers, I felt like I had taken all my clothes off And I ran out to O'Connell Street while the Great Limerick Run was on.
Yeah.
And shook my tits about and was like, hey lads, how's it going?
Sign here.
Look, yeah. So I felt so vulnerable after doing that.
Do you still feel the same, man? Be honest.
No, I don't.
Yeah,
I don't. I wouldn't
see it in your
take
eyes.
it back.
It's very different.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a strength that's came as a byproduct of the
I
first
think
season.
so. I think
can
so.
see it, yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I actually haven't seen you since.
Not in a few weeks.
And that's
definitely,
not like us.
No, it's not. But there's,
Yeah.
you know, I could feel. I felt at the start when you were doing it, there was, and I don't want to use the word, but slightly ashamed. And I'm going, why?
Yeah.
You're carrying a message that's actually impacting people's lives.
Yeah.
You're making people get inspired and motivated. The only thing that a person should feel if they're doing that is proud.
Yeah.
You know, and being that proud should build your own strength.
Yeah. No, and
So
I
what
think
else came from it?
I know this sounds really weird, right? But I was like going to the shop or whatever, and this girl, like, do you know John's Stories? I always go to John's, and this woman comes up and she's like, "You're done with the podcast." And I was no makeup on, hadn't showered in 2 days, greasy hair, like I was disgusting. And I was like, do you know? And then she was like, I love the podcast. And I was like, oh my god, stop talking to me, who are you? And then like my anxiety was getting so high. So it was, I suppose it wasn't a negative, it wasn't either positive or negative. It was a change that came about.
Something you'll have to get used to.
Well, I don't know, look, do you know, it's grand, like, I'm getting really awkward now, but like, that's what I get, like, I'm like, oh jeez, yeah, all right, bottle of water, thanks, $2.50, bye. You know, so
it's really nice to see that though.
Oh, I know.
The awkwardness of being a celebrity.
Will you shut up, Shane? Like, no, but it was, do you know, so
I had to bring up that word. It was one of the things that said I come in today. I'd use the word celebrity because I knew it would make you feel awkward. Yeah.
Why would you do that? Like?
Because I think it's something. If you're in a public domain, whether you have 1,000 followers, 20,000 followers, or 100,000 or 1,000,000. If you have the power to influence people in a really positive way, that is a beautiful, beautiful thing.
Yeah.
And there's so many people out there that have that power and don't use it.
Yeah.
I think when somebody comes up to you, it should be, what did you like about it?
Yeah.
And what would you like to see next? And then maybe you can influence them in another way.
Yeah.
As opposed to, and you know, it's a really cute thing and it's really nice and it's a really grounded thing and there's a sincerity to it. But yeah, that's the only reason. That's why I had to bring up the celebrity thing today.
Don't bring it up again.
So, more followers, more messages on Instagram.
More messages. Then obviously the TV show came out kind of in the midst of...
So for people that don't know, again, sorry now to recap, you done fur coat, no knickers, and then what was the next thing that came as a byproduct?
So we had done Pulling With Your Parents, which was a dating show. And so that came out then 2 weeks after... And I was like, oh my god. And then I was like... Then I felt like I had went...
Yeah.
But like, I don't even want to tell you how I felt. The extreme version of running out naked. Like, so it was just, it was fantastic. Like, it was a fantastic experience, but I think it all came too hard all at once. And then there was a lull. And then it was like, I didn't want to go outside. Because I didn't want the woman in Duns coming up to me because I was afraid of her, even though she was lovely. But I just couldn't handle that. So I kind of went into a bit of recluse, and then it was winter months, so I definitely suffered with a little bit of that SAD syndrome, seasonal affective disorder. I think that's the name of it. And there was anxiety there, and there was this kind of like, oh wow, you've done all these amazing things, but I really felt like shit.
Okay, yeah.
So it was like this like contrast.
So how do you handle that, right? This is something we've talked about previously. How do you handle if you're an external person looking in? Sophie's on the radio. Yeah. Sophie's on Limerick Post. Sophie's on TV doing a dating show.
I know.
Sophie's
it sounds great. I'm like, fair play to
Sophie's
Sophie.
doing a podcast.
But I didn't
Sophie
feel like
went
that.
from 1,500 followers to 5,000 followers in 2 months. I've been at 7 followers for the last 2 years. And they're all looking in and it's like...
You're giving me anxiety now talking about it.
But you know, when you think about it, like, you've done all of these things. Yeah. How is that?
Do you know, ironically...
Behind closed doors...
fur coat, no knickers. And that is the best way that I can describe that. Like, you've got all these amazing things going on outside of you, yeah? And this is what I talked about in the first episode in the first season about, oh, it looks good and you put your best foot forward. But you're inside, like, the anxiety that I had felt after that amazing experience, like, I was waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning with panic attacks, like. And like, that's just crazy. And it, you know, so and I wanted to like be known that it is fantastic and I'm delighted with it, but it just took a weird toll on me.
How does that, like, for you, and I know it's probably different for everybody, how does that happen? Like, where does that come from? And
it's like what must go up must come down.
Then how do you handle it then? Or how have you handled it? Because you're still, you know.
I think I started group therapy.
Yeah. Okay.
Fab. Lads, fab.
So what's group therapy? I don't.
So it's a personal development group. There's 16 of us in it. It's called SHEP. And what they do is they use improvised therapy and other people's stories or how they got on that week to personally develop yourself.
Okay.
My fabulous father had done years of this. He did, I think, 4 years. It's called SHEP, and you can do all these different stages, and you eventually can become a facilitator. Now, I don't know if it's something that I'd want to do because I cry at everyone else's story, so I'm like, for the whole thing, I'm bawling. So I don't know if I can facilitate that shit.
Probably
like,
not, no.
Yeah.
If I was here crying, interviewing you all the time, I don't know, Adam would probably fire me. You'd probably fire me. It would be
that's it, like. So yeah, how I managed to kind of come around from that anxiety and stuff was by going into that group and obviously listening to other people's stories and other people's backgrounds and their problems, and I'm not even going to call them problems, but things, seasons in their lives that have come up for them, that I was like kind of sitting back being like, I'm grateful for the problems that I have, and then all of these lovely people gave me the space to talk about the things that I felt I couldn't talk about, because one or two of them were like, I saw you on the telly, and I'm like, shut the fuck up. Do you know, because I didn't want, I just wanted to be in that safe space of those 16 people.
Away from it.
The funniest thing about it, the weirdest thing about it is, I had depression when I was 16. I kind of go in and out of bouts of it. Yeah. And I had this fantastic counsellor. I can't say her name, obviously. Yeah. She was incredible. I mean, she was incredible to me. She was the one, she did a lot of inner child work with me, and like really deep stuff that like I ended up moving to Dublin after it, and she really gave me that get up and go. And for years I'd pass her in Duns and I'd be like, well, love. And I always felt like me and her weren't finished with whatever bond that we made within those therapy sessions. So when I walked in the first day to my group therapy, no fucking joke, shit, I'm gonna call her Love, was sitting over in the corner, and she was like, stop. And I was like, you stop. And so the two of us were kind of like awkwardly looking at each other while like, you know, you're all getting to know each other or whatever. And at the break she came up and she said, look, I'm out of practice at the moment. Something is happening in my personal life. Do you mind that I'm here as somebody within the group with you? And I was like, you know what? It's actually the biggest comfort I think I could have ever had walking through this door.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah.
And it's because, you know, sometimes when things are happening you and they're happening so rapidly and so intensely that you almost feel like you're questioning, do I actually feel like that, or did that actually happen? Do you ever get like that? And when certain things over the last few months have happened in my personal life, she's been there, and she'll say to me afterwards, listen, love, they were always like that. And I'm like, they were, weren't they? And she's like, yeah.
And then there's a assurance. And
she's like, Sophie, we had this conversation when you were 17. Why are you going back there? What are you doing? Do you know?
But that must be really nice then.
It's, lads, such a positive, you couldn't write that. Like.
So I have another question then, right? You're waking up at 3 o'clock in the night. having anxiety attacks, hiding from people inside Duns and they're following you because you're a local celebrity now.
Oh, shame.
But genuinely, where I'm proud and where I'm really happy and where I think it's really nice is what makes you come back from season 2. Because that, like, you know, what goes up must come down. I get all that. First season, amazing. Like, engagement, you know, we were messaging, you were like, it was off the charts. It was crazy, in fairness. Yeah, it really couldn't have played out any better. And then it goes down, and like you said, you get into Christmas, and maybe it's a bit sad, and maybe it's this. What makes you come back in January and go, oh, hold on a second, for Going On Acres, part 2 is coming, and it's coming hard. Like,
so there's 2 reasons.
What?
One of them is that obviously I've signed with Acast, who are a global podcast platform. They basically host your podcast.
You were at their Christmas party, I saw that.
I was at
but you're not a
Christmas
celebrity.
Party. No, I'm not.
Okay.
And there was no other podcasters there, which was fucking brilliant. Because I was sitting there with all these UK people, like the senior vice president of Acast, and he was telling me like all these funny stories, and I was like, but they're all really weird as well. The whole head office are really weird. Yeah. So we all sat there, and it was fantastic. I mean, the other podcasters that didn't come, thank you. Yeah. Thank you, because I got to sit there and I got to speak to these fantastic people and them explain to me how the industry, because they were all over from the UK, how they started with Acast at the very, very start of podcasting 6-7 years ago in the UK, and how they built their whole business platform, and they monetized podcasts and they sold advertising for podcasts, and they saw that industry grow. So podcasts are a real competitor for radio over there. But now, he said to me, senior vice president was like, I'm really bad at English accents, but anyway, he was like, aren't you very lucky? No, I can't do it. But he said, right?
I really wanted her to try.
He said that. He was like, I can't wait to see you here at the Christmas party next year, because he said, wait until you see everything that's happening in the Irish market right now with podcasts is an exact clone of what happened in the UK.
Oh yeah, early stages.
Yeah, so I'm an early adopter, and you know, it's fantastic. It's so exciting because all of the people that are starting to see the value in podcasts now are only starting to come on board.
So that's,
and I'm at the little.
That's something I want to pull you up on, because this is something since I first met you that has been very consistent.
Yeah.
That you've always been at the early stages of stuff. Be that in one-on-one here, it's a venue, not a bar.
Thank you.
Be that a podcast. Be that your previous startup, which we'll get to very shortly, and other ideas. You know, from beauty, fashion, etc. To our first interview, we were talking about being 5 and wanting to put on those orange socks.
Yeah.
So, how do you think that comes about? That you see things before other people see things? Or is it that loads of people see things before other people see things, but they don't actually do it? Because one of the things I would say about you is you just go and get it done. It's like you saying earlier, I didn't realise I was making a process, I was just doing these things, and then I look back and went, oh, there's a process there.
Yeah, oh my God, I did a podcast.
So which one is it?
It's the latter. I think it's the doing. And I think it's like, I suppose within all of those things that I've done, with the 101, with the podcast, with the AOR stuff that I had, with every single project that I've done, it's this constant, I'm not going to say identity shift, but it's, do you know what I'm going to call it? I'm going to call it fluid identity. What?
Fluid?
Right?
Identity.
Yeah, because I don't...
Coined right here on Furcoat Lonicker Season 2, Episode 1.
Yeah. So like I feel like I am able to switch and change what I'm perceived to be for what strengths I think I have, or a gap that I can see in the market, and I just go and do it. You know? So I think that's one of the things. But the other reason why I came back to season 2, just to pick up on that, was, and this is the most important, the stories that people have shared with me, as I said, the understanding that I know people are watching and they're listening and they're also hearing people's stories, but it's, I don't know, it's that connection that I feel from people. It's that like eye contact that I have with that person while they're telling me that story, and while they know that we're the only 2 people in the room, apart from Adam, he's always here, but like
in that moment,
and the stories that they're telling me, it's just amazing.
Yeah.
And it's amazing to share it with people. And it's amazing for people to get educated on things. Or inspired. Like, not even educated. Inspired. Like, happy, sad, indifferent. But to feel something from somebody else's story. And these are only just... Bear in mind, this is the surface. Like, I'm only touching on the people that I know. You know?
Yeah. This is early stages.
This is early stages. Like,
yeah.
I have these mad ideas that I want to talk about, but I'm like, so maybe just bring it back a little bit, you know? But they're coming, like, and I just can't wait to talk about them. And I watched Oprah the other day and J.K. Rowling's interview. Lads, I swear to God. J.K. Rowling, right? I'd never read Harry Potter. Don't read books. Not good. Can't concentrate for that long, right? Just can't. But her story about how she went from struggling. She was in an abusive relationship. She had broken up, so she was nearly homeless. Her mom was really sick. She wasn't talking to her father, and the Harry Potter books, from my interpretation of this interview, was her way of expressing through the characters the people that she had in her life that have done her wrong or that have brought little bits of magic into her life. And it was just to see, under that immense amount of pressure and poverty that she was in and the bad place that she was in, she says herself she was in depression and stuff. She's now a billionaire author, the first billionaire author in the whole entire world.
Yeah. Through
the pain and suffering that she went through. And it was her creativity that took on the world.
Yeah.
And killed it, like.
It's part of the sacrifice, isn't it?
Fantastic.
It's what people don't see.
Come here.
It's back to the point earlier of people see you all over TV.
Yeah.
You're on the radio. You're on Live 95 FM. You're doing all this. Yeah. But they don't see you then being afraid to go out at home. Yeah. You're at home when I'm not.
Rubbing my cat. I remember I was living with this Canadian guy who's actually gone from the house now, and he came home, right? Because he didn't understand what was going on for me, because whatever. He came home and I had this hoodie on, right? And the hoodie came up like as far as my face. So I looked like Kenny from South Park, right? I had the lights off, I had a load of chocolate around me, and I had Mafia. And like, now there the TV was on, I wasn't completely in the dark, like. But I was rubbing Mafia, and like he came into the sitting room and he was like, "Oh, hey Sophie," and he was just like, "Would you mind if I turn the light on?" And I was like, "I think that's a good idea, yeah." And he was just sitting there and he was like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "No, I'm not actually. I'm actually not okay, you know." So yeah, that was just one of the. Are you
finding it easier to become okay with moments like that?
Yeah, no, I am definitely.
I find when you talk to people a lot in our space or doing things that we're doing, that they can be very critical of themselves and that. And if you look at how you're supposed to build self-esteem, and if you look at the habits of successful people or etc., it's all about, you know, basically tricking your mind. It's about self-belief, 100%. Reinforcement. Are you becoming better or okay with stuff like that?
Definitely, yeah. Like I did rewatch The Secret.
Yeah.
Because laws of attraction, your vibes, your tribe, all that kind of stuff. Yeah. I kind of, and with the group therapy, it's a year long, you know, so I go once a week for 2 hours. And I always try and learn from those other people's stories and about how they've come through the most horrendous times of their life, or what they might be going through now and stuff like that. I always try and identify with how they navigated their way through that, and that's what I'm trying to do.
Does it give you better empathy?
Massively.
Or better
Massively.
And that's the thing I find.
It's huge.
That's one of the things I've seen in your evolution, we'll call it, over the last 2 or 3 years, is your emotional intelligence. How much more appreciative or how much more empathy you have with people or their stories or their journeys. And is that a byproduct of the stuff you're going through as well in the background that people don't necessarily see?
Yeah, I think so. And I think, I just think, like, you know, hearing, as I said, other people's stories through the podcast, be it or through the group therapy, or even through the podcasts that I've started listening to, I'm just like getting this full rounded view that like everyone's going through their shit. Like, said it in season 1 or episode 1, everybody has their thing that they go through, And like, it really is a case of acknowledging it, sitting with it, feeling the feelings. Don't try and not feel them.
Yeah.
Sit with your hood up,
Really
the
good.
cat, and
Yeah,
do
really
the
good.
things and whatever. But you pick a point of, okay, this is what I'm going to do. It does, like, you can even say, look, I'm going to do it in like 14 days or whatever. But pick a point, cut that shit off, and move on.
Yeah.
And move
I
on
agree. That's brilliant advice.
with a very positive outlook, not to hurt anyone, not to do anything, but move on for you.
Yeah.
So
I
yeah.
think so a line into that, right? This is really the reincarnation in a different way of Sophie La Touche, businesswoman. I won't say celebrity, I'll stop joking.
Yeah, I'll kill you.
Businesswoman. But there was an initial draft of this maybe 2-3 years ago.
We need to be very careful talking about
We
this,
do,
and I'm going to
but
be very
I want to
straight.
know a couple of things, right, before I get into the nitty gritty of it. What have been the similarities between both of them? So this is business number 2, let's call it.
Okay.
And the first one was business number 1. What have been the similarities in setting them up? Because I think people look up to you and they're starting to look up to you and seeing you in a very different way now. So what advice have you for them after setting up? It's basically a second company now. You know, it may not be registered, whatever. It's not the point. Process, work, everything you have to do. It's just the same. The ups, the downs, the sacrifice you have to make. So what are the similarities between setting up? What do you think?
Okay. I'm going to start off by just giving a little bit of a background to it. I kind of touched on it in season 1, episode 1 with you about the AOR company and the idea that I had. And I don't know how to say this the right way, but I had come up with an idea. Will I just tell the whole story and then we can talk about the question?
Let's rubbish that question, put it off. So let's simplify it. So a few years ago you went to Startup Weekend. You came in with a brilliant idea. The Startup Weekend was on here in Limerick.
Okay. I'm going to rewind.
Okay, go.
So, I was in second year of college.
Okay.
I was working for a jeweler's at the time that specialised in engagement rings. And I was also studying marketing. We had one module called social and mobile marketing. And in that module, we had to come up with a marketing plan for a business that you're familiar with. So I'm there in the jewelers being like, those women that go up to that room for those people that are spending like 12 grand on an engagement ring are really under pressure. And obviously for the customers, this is the most important decision they're ever going to make in their life because it's a massive investment. And obviously the most important thing about it all is it has to look good. So I was like, okay, I'm working for the jewelers doing this social and mobile marketing project. So I was like, it would be really cool, right, if you could try on the ring before you go into the shop. So therefore, this is the business side of it. It would increase customer satisfaction. It would decrease the time of the customer sales girls, and it would get bigger sales, get better sales, get more sales.
Course,
So,
and it's the future. It's what's coming.
So, but I didn't know this at the time. I just thought that would be really fucking cool if you could do that, right?
Okay.
So I went and did a bit of research, went onto Tiffany's website, and I was like, can you try on engagement rings, right? Into Google. That's how you research something, okay? You just fucking ask it a question. And then they were like, literally like, and then so they were like, Google came back and was like, hey, no, didn't. It came back and was like, try Tiffany's 2D ring trier on her, right? Yeah, that's what I'm going to call it, right? So went into it.
I like that.
Went into it and realised that there was this thing that you could do with your phone, right? And you could hold the phone really awkwardly over your hand and slide your hand into this thing. And then maybe the ring might go on your finger and you could say, I like that. Now, I've got fatty fingers, right? So,
same problem myself.
So,
fingers are lovely, by the way.
Thanks,
lovely nails as well.
Thanks, I do like my nails.
Yeah, that's savage.
But I have fat fingers, so a thin band would suit me, not a fat one, because it's fat on fat, like it just wouldn't work, you know. So this was like the whole process. So I was like, right, okay, like what type of diamond would you want, whatever. So anyway, what I decided to do was go to the reviews of this Tiffany's concept.
Yeah.
Thousands and thousands and thousands of reviews, 1 star, people being like, fucking fix this. Like, it's going mental, being like, this is an amazing idea. Like, fuck you, Tiffany's, it doesn't work. Do you know? So I was like, hold on a second here. You know, I was like, there's something here.
Yeah.
But I was like, but obviously that doesn't work. So then I spoke to you about it, spoke to Chris Kelly about it, and I met Chris Kelly one day, and Chris Kelly was like, yeah, you're talking about augmented reality? And I was like, what the fuck is that? So I went and did a bit of research and said, what's augmented reality? I'm going to explain it for people that don't know, right? Augmented reality is very similar to Snapchat filters. That's the best way to describe it. So you have your face, which is your marker, okay? This is what you're telling your phone, this is my face, I want to put a filter on it. So your phone picks up on your face, which is the marker, okay? And places an image within your own reality through your handheld device. That's what augmented reality is. So I was like, sure, the hand could be the marker. And you could try the ring on.
Yeah.
Then that's when I went to Startup Weekend.
Then you came to Startup Weekend.
Went to Startup Weekend. Had obviously gotten an A in that fucking thing.
Yeah.
in college they were like, that's a really good idea. And I'm like, I know.
Yeah.
So
Google told me it was.
Google told me, like, do you know? So then I went, and yourself and Chris were like, Sophie, you need to, you actually said to me, Sophie, okay.
Go on, do my accent. Go on, yeah. Please,
Sophie,
try it.
telling you now, right? This is a 10x idea. What's a 10x idea? Into Google.
Google told me.
It fucking told me. So anyway, I was like learning all this startup
I
shit.
heard your dogs inside. I remember talking to you in Nexus. I remember talking to you in multiple other places.
Yeah.
And actually nearly begging you to go to Startup Weekend to pitch it, because I was running the event. Yeah.
Yeah. So I went to Startup Weekend. And what you do is there's about 30 people in the room. You go in, you pitch your idea, and what you do is 6 ideas win through votes, and then from the people that were losers, no, I'm joking. No, sorry, that's awful. I'm sorry.
From the people in attendance, they select teams.
They select teams, yeah.
And at the end of it all, you end up with 6 teams with anywhere from 2, 3 to 10 people on the team.
So I'm there anyway, and I'm like going, we can call it whatever. Yeah. And I'm pitching my idea, and then this person.
So just to highlight now, we probably need to add in something else here. So there's certain things that can't be said on the podcast for legal reasons. Just to highlight. Sophie tried to do this. Do you want to explain? Because you explain it better than me. Because we're going and adding in stuff, and they don't have
well,
the
so
substance.
this is like disclaimer.
Yeah.
This is the reason why we're given blanks.
So disclaimer alert.
So basically, I had went. A journalist had approached me and asked me would they be able to interview me on this particular thing. One of her boyfriend, who was in my class in college at the time, had said, listen, this girl got fucked over, you should definitely talk to her. So she came to me about this, told her all the story. She was like, oh my god, like she wanted to talk a bit about Lyme disease, but like that was gone out the window. She was like, oh my god, like every time, and I'm at the very start of this, by the way, so you want to keep watching or listening. And then basically she wasn't allowed to print it.
Okay.
So and it's for legal reasons.
Adding a small bit more substance.
Yeah.
What happened that you can say, and so they couldn't print it. Yeah. You were able to tell her a story. They couldn't print it for legal reasons. There are certain things we can say for disclaimer or legal reasons. So what actually happened? You went to an event.
I went to this Startup Weekend. Met this group of people, lovely group of people at the time. And basically they were like, this one particular person came to me and said, oh, hey, okay, I'm not going to do his voice all the time. But he was like, hey, look, I know what you're talking about. I think that's really cool. I'd love to work with you on this. He was a lecturer in somewhere, and I was like, Jesus, I'm after hitting the jackpot here. Like, I'm after meeting somebody that has the skills. I've got the knowledge. I've done the research. This is cool. Let's marry the two. You make it. I'll do everything else. You make it. So Startup Weekend happened. We didn't win, but that was fine. And then for me, the idea would not leave my mind.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So I kept meeting up with this particular person, and we had decided, you know, there's something here. Like we had gotten market validation from jewelers within the town. We had gotten letters to say, if this is developed, I will invest. So that was cool. Like, we were like, look, there's something here. Like, let's work together. Like, let's do this together. So at that point, we started meeting up kind of every week, and we were sitting, we were talking, we were chatting. We decided together that jewellery wasn't the best option because it was very hard to use hand recognition as a marker for this particular technology. There was a difference in opinion of whether we should do it as application based or if we should do it as web based. I always said web based because web based is where you get the most traction. So if you were on a website and you wanted to see what a Louis Vuitton handbag looked like in Brown Thomas, you could literally click the button that says see in real view, and then through your phone you'll be able to see the exact dimensions, the stitching on the bag, the design, the interior of the bag. You'd be able to see this whole product within your own reality. Or to make it even easier for you to understand, if it was a toaster, you'd be able to see what the toaster looks like beside your fridge in size wise. So anyway, we had developed it a little bit more, and we had developed it into more I suppose retail goods rather.
Obviously with this happening, you've developed a business.
Yeah.
You're working together longer.
Yeah.
We were like working. A partnership is formed.
Partnership did form.
Yeah. Partnership is formed.
We worked together for about a year, really kind of refining the idea, and then we had went for, I can't say what body it was, but it was an entrepreneurial development program, for a state body of
one of the biggest ones in the country, let's call it.
The biggest one.
Yeah.
Stay away, is all I'll say. We went in. My name was obviously the first name on the application, and then it had underneath it, if you've any partners within the business, his name was below, and then we went in, and that was the initial stage. It was the first stage, first phase actually, and basically that's where you develop your elevator pitch. That's where you develop your concept wholly, completely. This is what the product that I have. We did further market validation. It was 8 weeks. I came away from that being like, wow. I'm going into 4th year next year.
But this is also the time now where you started getting sick as well.
No, not yet.
Okay, sorry.
Shit, it's the fan when I start getting sick. But this was in the May, right? Yeah. I went to America for the summer with the intention of going out to try and get investment for this, because I knew what we were selling at this point. Yeah. I knew that I was going to Montauk, and Montauk is where the investors live. So I went over. I still have pieces of paper from restaurants that I was working in of these big investors, and me standing there being like, would you like chips with that? And have you heard of AOR? Oh, you live in San Francisco? Really? Cool. So that was kind of my job for the summer, as well as making a bit of capital to bring back to invest. Of course, so I was coming back to 4th year. When I was coming back to 4th year, one of our projects for FYP was to do a business plan. So my intention was to do this business plan, work the year through, keep doing what I was doing, making the contacts that I was making within the AOR retail space, and build my business plan. It was genius, really, it was perfect timing. And I had been working, actually, can I go back just 2 minutes? So 2nd year I had done the initial project, met this man. 3rd year I had a module called market research, where we did primary research in the first semester and secondary research in the second semester. 100% assignments for those modules. I did it all on this, so all of the market research was done.
So you're literally getting to work on your business idea as part of your college project.
Amazing.
And it's synchronicities perfect.
It's fantastic. Yeah. So, but bearing in mind that the application form for that entrepreneurial development program was the work that I had put in from the primary and secondary research for that year of 3rd year. I'm now going into 4th year. I come back into 4th year. One of my modules is IP law. Right? So I'm sitting in this lecture, right? 11 to 1. I get an email on my phone being like, come to this. I'm not going to call what it was because I can't, but it was come to this meeting that we have over in this acceleration center at 1 p.m. So I'm sitting in my IP law lecture, and I'm like, fuck, great, like, you know, love this kind of stuff, like, and she's there talking about how intellectual property is IP law. Intellectual property is when something is created, or when the information of the core product of what you're selling is your protection on your business, basically. Is that the right way? Can you explain what IP is?
So
IP was my research, wasn't it?
Yeah, the function of IP is, are you creating something that's unique? Are you creating something that hasn't been made before? Is there what they would call a patent, or is there a unique detail in here based on research or based on something you've built? And does that need to be protected so that other people can't steal it, use it, take it, or make money off it when you come up with the concept or idea?
Beautifully put. Let me explain.
Yeah, please do.
So I go to this meeting at 1 p.m. in the Acceleration Centre. That fella that I had met, that I had been working with,
your partner,
my partner, who was a lecturer in a different college. I walk in, and I mean, we've got a good relationship, you know, as far as I was concerned. And he's sitting at the end of a boardroom table signing papers. And I'm like, what are you doing here? Like, hi love, like at this stage, I'm like, hi love, like, give me a hug, like, what are you doing here? Like, you know, and he's like, and I'm like, what's wrong? Like, and he's like, can I talk to you for a second? And I was like, yeah, of course, like. He was like, come here, I meant to ring you the other day, but we got phase 2. And I was like, what do you mean? And phase 2 now is a follow-on from what we had done in April, May, and this is where you got €15,000 investment from part the college that I was in and part the body of investors that I had put my name down for as phase 1, hun, right? So I'm like, oh wow, like, you know, delighted with myself. I was like, fucking brilliant, like, we've got 15 grand in the bucket, whatever. Let's get it going, like, let's hit the ground running. I'm doing the business plan, let's just work together, let's do this. And we get called back in. This presentation was going on, and this man is sitting there, and that man was sitting down below where he was signing his papers, and I was sitting up at the top of the room, like, and I'd just come from 2 hours of intellectual property law, and I'm sitting there, and I'm like sitting there, and I'm like, Sophie, no. And I'm like, yeah. And I'm like, no, this isn't happening. Like, is he after applying for this funding and trying to cut you out? And then I was like, he wouldn't do that. Like, he wouldn't do that. Like, we've been working on this together, I've done all the research, like. And then I was sitting in that fucking presentation, and I was like, that fucking cunt, I'm gonna kill the bastard, I'm gonna kill him. And then I was like, okay, don't overreact, get your facts straight. So afterwards I was like, you walking down the road? Because we always used to walk down the road together, and that was our little brainstorming session, and that was where we'd decompress from everything that we've learned that day, that meeting, whatever it was. I'm walking down the road, and I'm like, can I ask you a question? And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, okay, so come here. I'm like, when you get home, I was like, I want you to send me on that application that you did for phase 2, if you don't mind. Yeah, it's no problem. I was like, I'm telling you now, the minute you get home, like, I want it. And he's like, yeah, okay. And I was like, are you sure that everything's okay here? And he's like, yeah, everything's fine. Why would you think that it wasn't? And I was like, okay. He had never told me, obviously, that he had applied for this phase 2. So I get home, and nothing for about 2 days. I ring him, I text him, nothing. Eventually, I was like, I'm fucking telling you now, send me on that application. As he said a while ago, I do get fiery. I was send that fucking application onto me straight away. He sends the application onto me, but he leaves out the first page, which is the applicant's name, all the information of the partners and all that kind of stuff. But he sends me on the questions and the answers. So I'm like, okay, send me on this. But anyway, I meet, I can't even say the name, but I meet somebody in the meantime who's in the realm of what we were doing within the startup community. And I'm sitting there and I bring phase 1 application and phase 2 application without the name and whatever. And I'm like, there's something going on here. And he goes to me, and I brought my marketing research project from year 3 as well. And he's sitting there and he's not like, I'm like, do you want coffee? He's like, stop talking to me for a second. And he's looking through it and he goes, so you do realise all of your college work has been plagiarised for the application for phase 2. So he had plagiarised my work, word for word, my research, word for word into the application that got him 15,000 to start this business. So at this stage, I know in my heart and soul what's happening. So I get on to this body of investors, state investors, and I say, hold on a second, you can't do this. This is my work. They didn't answer me for about 4 or 5 days. I sent this really in-depth email to the head of business in whatever college I was in, and I said, this man has taken my idea. He has plagiarized my college work that was done within this body or whatever. We need to stop. We need to do something. I had met with my law lecturer. I had told her, she was telling me all about IP. I was like, listen to this. And she's like, red flags, Sophie, red flags, put a stop to it. Get everything in order. Stop it now. So that's what I tried to do, but nobody would listen to me. And then that's when I got sick.
Why do you think people didn't listen to you?
There was a little bit to do with the fact that he had the skill to make this thing. With regards to the body of investors, because obviously the cost of him wouldn't be a cost anymore. He was the biggest cost because I'd done the research, right? The college, I'll tell you a little bit more about the college in a minute, but I have no idea what they did.
Just a laziness.
Yeah, I think there wasn't enough protection for their students' IP within the agreement that they had between this body, this state body, and
I think
that
fundamentally
college.
in Ireland, a lot of the time there's just a lack of respect of how big an idea could be. I mean, in a really simple way, and I'm not one to over magnify your idea, but I also won't belittle it. And I'll say the Collisons, who won Stripe, who are the world's youngest billionaires, were rejected by Enterprise Ireland in Ireland. Sold the company a couple of years later for $3.5 million to a Canadian company, and then went away and got investment from Peter Thiel from PayPal, and now are running a company and they're valued at over $2.5 billion each. There's a laziness about vetting people, and there's a laziness about understanding the value of an idea or the capabilities of a person, namely you in this scenario, to be able to execute that idea.
So one thing that I will say, and just on that point, and I will go back to the story because I think it's important to like get this whole thing out, the education around IP law or about ideas that you have or the people that you speak to, educate yourself. Anybody that has a little business idea or has anything like that, educate the fuck out of yourself about how to protect yourself. When I first met Chris Kelly, before I even had a conversation with him, he made me sign a non-disclosure agreement. If you don't know what that is, look it the fuck up. And it was the biggest lesson I ever learned because, well, I obviously made a mistake after that, but still I hadn't got my agreements in order. Like when I look at this, I didn't protect myself. And that's what it comes down to. And you know, it's only 2 years down the line that I can sit here and say that actually, Sophie, whatever happened, and the way it was done, oh my God, like, but it comes down to protecting myself, and I should have educated myself on what it meant to have a partnership. Well, I hope anybody else that has any idea, friend, brother, sister,
taking that right, it's a horrific experience. You've learned a lot from it. What advice do you have for people who are thinking about setting up and who really think they have a big idea?
If you have a big idea, if you think you have a big idea, likelihood is you have a big idea. Simple as. Don't do something like Startup Weekend. Ever.
Well, I've been at multiple.
No. Don't leave yourself open to people. People are vultures. When it comes to money, when it comes to business, people aren't nice. They're not your friend. And that is literally as simple as it fucking is, okay? If somebody thinks that they can get one up on you or they can take your idea and run with it, lads, they fucking will, right? They will take it and they will fucking take flight. Protect yourself, educate yourself, talk to the right people, figure out who the person is that you need to talk to in order for you to get to the next level, and they don't want what you have. They just want to, they have more than what you have, so they just want to progress you.
Yeah.
Don't talk to people on the same level as you. Always aim higher, and that is what I'll say about that. But education is key. Legal education is key. Whether you're doing law in college, whether you're not doing law, learn about it. Learn about it and learn if you have something that you think is worth protecting. Because this business, like, we'll talk about the rest of the experience, but it's profitable right now.
Yeah. So and the other thing I'd probably add into that is be careful where you get advice from.
Yeah.
So like, I actually think Enterprise Ireland are fantastic. I think they do a lot of work really good. Don't get me wrong, I think there's a lot of things they could improve on, and entrepreneurs will say that, but I have a huge issue with educational institutions across Ireland setting up incubators and the value of those. There is a few that I consider excellent, and there's a lot that I won't even get into it.
Yeah.
Because I've been in scenarios all across the country people are giving me advice, and I look back now 5 or 6 years on, and I'm going, you had no authority to give me any advice.
Sorry,
anything. You don't know
those people, I'm so passionate about this, right? Those people that sit in there and they fucking stand there and tell you how to run a business, and they've never owned a business in their life. Get the fuck out of your educational shit, hon, and get someone in that's actually made something of themselves.
When I said the laziness thing earlier, that's exactly what I mean. No, I'm 100% on board with this. Like, we were given advice years ago from some bodies like this, and I'm going, when I look back now, I'm going, it was literally the worst advice. It was the worst advice. You need to focus on this. So you've sales on the table and people offering you money, and they're going, but you need to come to this meeting so that you can learn how to put together a PowerPoint presentation. And I'm like, well, that's what people like Adam are for. Really good content creators and designers that can make brilliant things. That's not me. No, put me in a sales meeting and want to close a 50 grand contract, and hi, I'm Shane. I will close this contract. So why are you advising me? But it goes back to what you said, Sophie. I think, I'll put it back to you. It's the wrong people in the wrong job giving the wrong advice. That's the laziness. There is really, and I've met a lot of them, really great people at certain sections of Enterprise Ireland that give, but they've been there. They've sold companies for lots and lots of money, and they're just going, look, I'll give advice to people like us. But the educational side of it is where I have a huge issue.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to go back into that story because I'm getting hated. Right? So look, anyway, I tell everyone, this person is doing this to me. You need to stop it. Nobody listens to me, right? That was in September. So I'm now doing my business plan on this business, right? From September to December. Obviously, just trying to avoid the fact that this person is now working in the acceleration hub that's within my college grounds. So I'm seeing this lecturer from another college coming in, sipping on coffee, having business meetings with my business idea, and I'm trying to do my FYP in that. Can you imagine how that fucking felt, right? The morning of my Christmas exams in final year, boom, Sophie got sick. That was when I got sick, and I actually genuinely believe that the stress of that situation, I was still going to get sick anyway, but I think that stress of that situation,
that breaks your middle strength. Yeah.
That was the breaking point. Yeah. That was the point where my body was under so much stress and pressure. And funnily enough, it was actually the morning of my final year exams that's when I went into hospital. I remember ringing my doctor, being like, and she was like, you need to come out like now. And I was like, I have an exam. And she was like, Sophie, I'm telling you now, come out to me. And that's when I got sick. Anyway, that was December 11th, 2017. And I went back to college a month later. I didn't do my exams because I was in a hospital. I went back to college about a month later, but I wasn't well. Like, I just wasn't well. And all of this stuff was happening with him. And he had gotten onto this Google acceleration program. So now it was accelerating for him, and I was still stuck in this space of trying to do my FYP on this business and also deal with the illness that has just came upon me, and I didn't know what was wrong with me at the time, but I couldn't sit in lectures. I was holding on to the desk trying to keep myself up and whatever. So I'm back in college about 2 weeks, and next thing, it was like something from a movie, right? Next thing, no, Shane.
I know. I
know
know
this part.
Yeah, I know where you're going.
I'm walking down the street, right, in college. The next thing I see this fella. And I see him walking into a lecture hall that I would have had my second and third year lectures in, so I knew it was business class. Walked in, sat at the back. My brother's friend was sitting beside me, and he was like, you're not in this class. I goes, shut the fuck up. This fella, right, that I'm talking about, that's taking my idea, goes down to the bottom of the class, standing with my FYP supervisor, who knows everything that's been going on, who knows that my FYP has been on this, who knows who this fella is, right? And they have him standing in front of 120 marketing and business students that were working on an international marketing plan for this man who was taking my idea, who was a lecturer from a different college. Adam, I can see her face. And yes, this is true, yeah. She rang me like either that evening or the day after.
No,
it was on the way home. It was on the way home.
So you cannot fucking believe, and she's gone. I'm like, okay, I need to sit down before anymore.
So I'm sitting in. True, yeah. Bear in mind, I've done this project, so I know how in depth the students go. Yeah. So I know how valuable this is to a business who works with the incubator across the way and the college and whatever. So I'm sitting there and I'm like, Sophie, is this happening? And I'm like, it is happening. And I'm like, Sophie, is this really happening? And I'm like, it is fucking happening. So I was like, I can't sit here any longer. I know what I need to know. So Sophie loses her shit, right? And goes to the head of business in the college that I'm in, straight up to his office. No thought, like, don't give a fuck. No thought, nothing. Yeah, went up, knocked on the door. Didn't wait for him to say come in. Walked in and I goes, can you tell me why so-and-so is doing this project in our college? Now, I was obviously at a very higher tempo than that. And he's sitting there and he goes, he's like, sorry, what's the name? Sophie. I goes, you fucking know who I am. And I was like, do you remember getting a fucking email off me in September warning you about this person that's working over in the acceleration center across the way? I said, you fucking remember that too? And he's like, you need to calm down. And I goes, oh, no. You need to calm down. And like, I was the one that was freaking out, right? So I was like, so basically I had been sick and obviously I hadn't done my exams and everything like this. So basically he turned around to me and he's like, I'll be back in a minute. I need to get a witness for this, right? Because I was losing my fucking shit. I was like, how can you let this happen? How can you ignore the red flag signal warning that I gave you to try and stop this? How can you have let this man come in on top of the warning that I gave you? How can you do this to me? So this witness comes in anyway. I'll never forget her face. Want to punch it. And she was literally sitting there and they were like, look, you've had a really hard month. You've been really sick. And I'm like, don't you fucking dare. And they're like, maybe you should just go and talk to the counsellor in the college. And I was like, listen, I'm telling you now. I was like, this is not the last that you'll hear of me. So I was like, I'm not getting anywhere. I'm being made out to be this fucking crazy bitch. Because I was being a crazy bitch at the time. And so I left and I didn't go back to college. I dropped out. It was too much for me. My health was deteriorating. Obviously, this was getting way too much and way too heavy and hot and whatever. So that summer, I wrote to the head of faculty, explained to him what had happened. I said, I don't want to sacrifice my education because of this. Yeah. Went and met him. Long story short, the head of business stepped down. That cunt that told me that it was because I was sick and I needed to calm down and got the witness. He was stepped down. And then
he was a prick anyway.
Yeah. Are you allowed you can say that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Come after me.
Yeah.
You're a prick anyway.
Basically, they allowed me to go back to college and I went and I did my final year project again on this. I picked up where I left off, and fair play to me. Like, I went back, I was getting a little bit better. This was a year later. And realized actually when I did the project that, you know what, the market wasn't ready at all. So what we were predicting 2 years ago actually didn't happen. So sorry about your man. But the 2 days before I was handing in my final draft, which was only May of this year.
So this is all really recent.
Yeah.
Hence the, you know,
Anger.
yeah, I think people may not have an appreciation of the, like, there's still a bit of venom there, there's still a bit of hurt, etc. But even though this started in, for argument's sake, 2016, 17, like, you were still dealing with this very, very recently. Like.
So 2 days before I'm handing in my FYP, which is a business plan for augmented reality in retail, this guy wins a very big award.
He wins an award,
for the business that I came to him with. And one of my very good friends, who would have been the guy that had seen all of the thing and said, you've been plagiarized here 2 years previous, texted me and said, Sophie, I'm here at this event. I'm not going to say what it was. It should be you taking that 50,000.
Yeah.
But anyway, so that's what happened. And that was when I put up my photo for my graduation, and I said, you know what, this journalist wouldn't write this story. And fair enough, whatever, like, she couldn't. I might just do a podcast on it, mic drop. I'm not going to drop the mic, but this is it. So
but when you're talking about J.K. Rowling earlier, like, you know, I think that there's people in the world, Sophie, that are lucky with the journey that they get. I think everybody who becomes successful, I don't care, makes huge sacrifice that people don't see.
Yeah.
But I do think all of this is, you know, and I've annoyed you about it and said, this is all brilliant for you, and you're like, I'm going to fucking murder you, Shane. And I'm like, no, this is all really, really good. And you're like, I'm really going to murder you, Shane. And but it is, because the way you are now, the strength you have.
And it's the agreements, like, I don't enter into a business agreement with anybody. I don't sit down and have a conversation with them until they sign an NDA. And some people get so like, what are you doing? And I'm like, sign the agreement and we'll talk then. Yeah. You know, and like, basically. But in the midst of that, just to let you know that there was a bit of weight within the idea that I had, like I said in the first season of episode 1 or whatever, that Brian Thomas I had actually went to Brian Thomas myself, and I ended up getting a different developer, and that was the guy that I went into the office and I was like, come here, I fucking need a developer, Brian Thomas or whatever, and my developer is fucked up. So that's the story in a whole. So yeah, but I think from that experience, thank God I'm not chasing that dream anymore. I know that that's there, it's a business plan, and you know what, when the market is ready, I'm ready to go. I know what way it should be worked, how you monetize it, what's the best way of making money from it. This guy has built it on an app, but realistically it's web AOR, and there's a lot more to it that I know that will separate me. So if somebody needs me to do that pretty little thing is what I'm hoping for, as I said, I'm ready to go. Number 1. Number 2, I had to leave that go. It was like a child, it was like a grief, it was a trauma, it was horrendous, it was like college, it was my idea, it was this body of state funding that like should not be allowed to even give money to people. It was all of this betrayal and kind of whatever, and I did do a poor me because I was sick at the time and stuff as well, but then I got sick, and then I started a podcast. Do you know what I mean? And then I started a podcast, and I actually...
So how has it helped?
It's great. Like, everything happens for a reason, and it was the biggest lesson that I learned. It was the biggest fucking lesson that I learned. Trust nobody, have your agreements, educate yourself, do what's right for you, and that's why no matter what I do from here until I die, I'll be doing it alone, and I'll be signing contracts with people that can come in and out of it. But own your shit, like.
Yeah, I don't want to finish this up on a negative note, so I'm going to put it back around, right? What has changed in Sophie in the last 6-12 months? I mean, mental strength wise, I mean, being a man with yourself, I mean, what are you proudest of? What has changed most, and what changes do you see?
What's changed most is, I think, just, well, my whole career path has completely changed. Yeah. By default, like, completely changed. The confidence that I've gained, but also lost from all the attention. It's weird. It's like a catch-22. It's fucking great, but it's scary.
You're learning how to deal with it.
I'm learning how to deal with it, and I'm actually taking care of my mental health, as in going to my group therapy and actually sitting with my feelings and allowing myself to feel them, and not trying to just say, no, it's fine, I'll keep going. I actually sit there, and when I was having my panic attacks at 3 a.m, I was literally sitting there being like, and I could feel it coming from my legs up to my belly, up to my chest, the breath. I couldn't breathe. I was like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. And like taking my temperature. I remember one night I took my temperature and it was 34 degrees, but sure, I hadn't stuck the thing in properly. So I was like, I'm dying. This is it. But I was like, no, it is a panic attack. Relax. And learning to sit with that, and learning to actually deal with it, rather than just sweeping it under the rug and saying, no, not going to deal with this now. So a lot of time for reflection, and just a nice...
Did you have New Year's resolutions?
I did, yeah.
What?
I haven't really stuck to them though, so I don't know if they're valid. No.
Most people don't.
Okay, so I want to lose weight.
Some 10% of people don't stick to their New Year's resolutions past the first 4 weeks or something. So
or 2, or 1 day, like. Yeah, but no, I want to lose weight.
Don't fact check that, by the way. But it's an extraordinary amount of people.
Yeah. No, I want to lose weight, but I like... At the same time, I do need to listen to my body, and if I'm having a bad day with my Lyme disease, I need to go to bed. Yeah. So my weight, I want to get it down, but it's not my priority. Okay. My mental health needs to be better and stronger, and it just needs to be
And how will you work on that? And why I'm asking is, again, one of the biggest things I took from Four Court Non-Acres in season 1 was I learned a lot and I was informed. You know, educated in some ways, but also inspired to start to do things slightly different and be more open about things.
Yeah, I think the group therapy is fantastic for me. Yeah. I definitely want to go and get counselling on the side of that and learn a bit of CBT around my impulsivity for food. Yeah. Like the
CBT is unbelievable.
Yeah, and the whole food thing has been a coping mechanism for me. Yeah. And that's something that I really need to work on. I know I need to work on it. I'm aware of it. I know the impulsivity of when I want to go and eat. It's not just like, oh, I'll just have a burger. It's like, get me a fucking burger and get me a garlic cheese chip with extra cheese and extra garlic. Like, do you know, it's that impulsivity, and I'll be straight out and I'll let you know in a couple of months how I get on. That's something that I need to fix, because that's my way of coping at the moment. So there's a few things, but I'm just, you know what, I'm quite content with the process.
Yeah. You seem to be. So then, to wrap this up, Four Court Non-Knickers season 2. Yeah. What's it all about? What are you going to do with us? What journey are you going to bring us on? Are you going to give us any little tips on who may be on it? We know Adam is the only consistent along with you.
Actually, Adam, we need to have one with just me and you.
Oh yeah, definitely.
That'd be like Inception.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That'd be deadly.
Yeah.
So are you going to give us any tips?
Do you know what?
Tell us about it.
So this is going to be the first one, and this is like one of the last ones that I've done. So we're probably recording this. This is Saturday. This will probably be out next Wednesday. Adam, you know. or else week after.
By the way, you can't see Adam's face right now, but if you could see Adam's
so this is the last one. So I've done season 2. I'm not going to tell you too much of what's on, but there's some sexual abuse, there's sugar daddies, there's influencers, there's cancer.
Whoa.
There's a lot of shit, like there's fertility. There's a lot of stuff that just...
And some more Diet Coke.
Some more Diet Coke. But like, do you know what? Honestly, just listen to the people. Don't even listen to me. Listen to the people and their stories. And listen to how they've coped or what they're trying to tell you. Because everything that I have done with these people has touched me in a way, and it's given me more of an understanding. So I hope that you learn as much as I did from season 2, and that's what I'm going to say. I'm not even going to tell you the people.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks for allowing me to do this again.
Oh, sure, come here.
I love
You're my
being the
pal,
person
like,
to sort of get some info out of you to help you go on your
You've been there,
slight little rants or raves.
Yeah.
But I also love being able to help the world see the Sophie that I get to see and chat with all the time. And see the growth that you're going through. So you will probably see me in season 1 or episode 1 season 3.
Yeah.
That's exactly when you'll see me again. Anything else you want to say to them? And I'm going to shut up now. It's your show.
No, just thanks to you, and thanks again to Adam for just literally being supportive and just driving me on. And the two of you really have like driven me on and just been such like separate entities of my journey, but like now we're colliding. I'm like today I walked in and Jesus Christ, the buzz off all of us. I haven't seen either of you in a while, and we're all like, woo love, fuck the haters, fuck them all, and like we're all like giving our input, and it's just good vibes. So fuck it.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Woo love.